Are we finally reaching a point in Dokkan where these dodge-centered units are at the end of their life cycle? Because as much as it pains me to say this, I think it's definitely up for debate. 9th anniversary power creep was definitely the biggest power creep we've experienced, but the 10th anniversary did a good job of keeping many units relevant even going into the 10th year of Dokkan. The one group of units that has suffered a big hit this year are dodge units, specifically MUI and Tech UI. This is not to say they are weak by any means. Just as of now, unless you are running a tournament of power team, there are far better options. Also, if you're new, please consider subscribing since we are getting super close to 10k subs now, and like the video, thanks. The issue isn't their design. Dodge as a concept is being neutered by Dokkan events. Yes, I know Tech UI has a domain for this, but we are at a point where fights are so long and have so much health that MUI's domain is gonna end before you beat these bosses that disable dodge. For shorter fights that disable dodge like AGL Beerus, these types of units can still work, but for someone like Jiren, even if you have your domain with Tech UI, he will most likely still outlast you and absolutely obliterate AGL MUI, who is designed very well and can take 1 to 2 hits if he doesn't dodge, but ideally you don't want to get a hit at all with MUI. Tech UI has damage reduction, but if he gets hit once or caught by a super, he's completely done for since he's already lost his damage reduction after 1 hit. These two are still around top 15 units, but if this trend of long events that cancel dodge continue, then they are going to have to pack it up and retire. The other thing is, do you see the recent units we've gotten? I'm questioning if I'm gonna ever run a different team for the rest of the year. The LR Gods EZA have dodge in their kit like they even need it. This Vegeta team can genuinely move mountains, and the fact that both the 7th anniversary LRs are on this team is unbelievable. You've also got SSJ4 Goku to offer even more defense and great links. The thing about this team is that even though more than half the team has units with dodge in their kits, none of them need to solo rely on it to be valuable on this team. SSJ4 Goku has dodge in his kit just so you can use him as an emergency slot 1 in the worst case scenario, and by the time you get to a boss that disables dodge, he's already transformed and been stacking defense for a few turns. The reversible exchange Goku in the Vegeta LR has an 80% chance to dodge in slot 1, or if you use the active, he gets a Ghost Usher and dodges for 3 turns guaranteed. All these dodge abilities have the same or higher odds than Tech UI, but have many more reasons to be used since it isn't what defines the unit. All these cards have support and stacking to help them build up to a point where the dodge is more like an extra layer of security rather than the initial wall of defense against hard-hitting attacks. This year, if we get any type of dodge unit like MUI or a God Goku, they will have to have something more to their kit which will make them a top unit. Otherwise, they will sit right next to the other two UIs, who once again are not bad units but just aren't on the same level of utility as these 10th anniversary cards. It's definitely going to get really hard to balance this game, because now bosses are going to have billions of health and do millions of damage, but units are going to defend everything flawlessly in return with their own heavy hitting attacks, and it's going to just turn into a slugfest where we just throw around giant numbers until the boss gives up. Dokkan has done an amazing job building these kits so far, since I'm having a ton of fun using these cards and completing difficult content. But dodge only units are off the menu for now, since even though Tech UI's domain saves them, it doesn't really matter since he can't do enough damage before the domain ends and he'll end up getting fried by a boss like Jiren. Then again, the next step for Dokkan might be to do challenges that force you to use certain types of units or some other creative mechanic that keeps fights fresh and allows us to use all types of units. The reason I got this idea is because last year I talked about dodge in a similar way and things developed almost exactly as I predicted. Also, if you're new and you made it this far, please consider subscribing and liking on the video. Anyways, I don't think dodge is dead, but I think if this keeps up, MUI is probably done for. Units with just as much dodge do everything else better. I also think the age of pure dodge units is over in terms of new releases. The new meta is probably going to be great defense with some solid slot 1 turn 1 defense so that units can start building up like the 7th anniversary LRs. And while I was writing the script, we literally got the Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan Goku Red Zone fight, which is yet another dodge canceling fight with damage thresholds and a billion health. If this keeps up, MUI is seriously gonna have to retire for a while. The good thing is that despite all these new pinnacle of difficulty events having dodge canceling mechanics, Goku will still have usage in older and slightly less tough content. But it seems the days of dodge being king are over. To be fair though, it is a pretty cheap mechanic if you think about it, because as long as dodge is around, it doesn't matter how hard a boss hits or how difficult you make a stage. Someone using Int Hercule can get lucky and clear it. The design of recent cards have been pretty good since it isn't just pure damage reduction. They are all designed with links, teams, and strategy in mind to have them operate at optimal levels. Sure, we still have pure defense units for slot 1, but that's just a necessity at this point because someone is going to have to take those massive attacks with no buildup, and if dodge is not allowed, then there needs to be someone like Tech Broly, Tech Grade A Vegeta, or Beast Gohan. We thought Jiren was going to be the hardest fight for a while, but with the new Blue Goku fight, everything has changed. Multiple supers a turn, a boss that builds up as the fight goes on just like you, dodge nullifications, and I believe he has a 5 million damage threshold as well. If you bring any dodge unit, even if dodge was allowed, you'd probably still get slapped just off sheer probability that one of his 20 attacks in a turn will actually hit you. Even his normals do a ton of damage, not just his multiple supers every turn. I love challenging fights in Dokkan, and if this is what the future of Red Zone content looks like, Dodge fans might as well pack it up. Also, if you're still here, don't summon on the SSJ3 Daima Vegeta's banner. He is not built for this era of Dokkan. On paper, he looks amazing, but with no guard or extra defense, he falls apart in tough content. If they just gave him a little bit more defense, he'd be the perfect slot 1 for a bunch of these new teams, but now he's just SSJ4 Goku's pet, because if he's not beside him getting fed extra stats and damage reduction, he's getting fried. My advice to anyone thinking about summoning for SSJ3 Vegeta, I would just say don't. Just wait till he comes back later and coin him if he for some reason gets a really good teammate that makes him viable. And for now, just coin Glory on Goku since they are still solid TURs. Also, can we just acknowledge that Evo Vegeta was designed knowing this is where content was going and they still chose to make him lose his damage reduction after 6 turns? Genuinely, why did they make him so incapable of being good? He's not a bad unit, he's just not good. And speaking of weak Vegetas, SSJ3 STR Vegeta is also underwhelming since they didn't give him guard in his Super Easy A either. It's actually crazy how forced the Vegeta hate in Dokkan is right now. What do the devs have against this man? He could have been another perfect slot 1 for Power Beyond Super Saiyan, but instead he's just another SSJ4 Goku pet. And with only one SSJ4 Goku on the team, this team is not going to cut it. You can't call yourself a true slot 1 if you need outside factors to be viable. I had such high hopes for both these Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta units, and even Evo Vegeta, but I ended up being very disappointed in all of them. I hope this doesn't end up being a recurring issue where units come out looking good on paper and then end up being useless without SSJ4 Goku support. What do you guys think though? Am I wrong about these units? Did I jump the gun in saying what I said? Or should we wait for other releases during the year to truly judge these units? I try not to complain too much and see the good in every situation, but I am disappointed in these Vegeta units. And on the other hand, I understand the devs for making Ultra Instinct and Mastered Ultra Instinct Goku unusable in some hard content, since it would be tiring to make all these events interesting if the best strategy in the game was to just get lucky with dodge or guaranteed dodge. Let me know in the comments guys what you think about the new hard content and the new units. And with that being said, that's all for this Yap session. Thank you all so much for watching, and please consider checking out some of my other videos that should be on screen right now.